Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Jay Anthony here. This video is a little bit late. Sorry guys, been a little bit busy, but this is a video I've been meaning to put out for a very long time. I've seen several of these up on YouTube and figured I'd do my own take on it. A lot of you guys out there that are looking for your first watch, you're very much in love with having something that is Swiss made, and who am I to blame you? I get it, but Swiss made timepieces generally tend to have quite a bit of premium. And so if you're looking on a limited budget, but you really like the idea of something being Swiss made, then I hope this will be a helpful video for you. Quick caveat, Swiss made is a very interesting definition. I do suggest you guys do some research. There's some videos up on the internet and such. Swiss made basically just requires a certain percentage of the value of a watch and parts to be assembled in Switzerland. It is completely normal for Swiss-made watches to have Chinese parts in them and other generic parts inside of them. So caveat emptor, buyer beware, just understand that anything you're buying Swiss-made, this applies to anything Swiss-made. That does not mean that every last piece of that watch was made in Switzerland. We live in a global economy, everything gets part sourced somewhere, and so you're basically buying a watch that the bulk of the value and design was likely done in Switzerland. So all that said, there are some wonderful choices out there in the sub $500 range. For this video, I'm going to be focusing on strictly new pieces. Vintage Swiss watches are a whole nother endeavor, and I've talked about some of the pitfalls of buying vintage, but there are some great bargains out there. But this is just going to be my top 5 list. This is, again, my take. These are choices that I would buy if I was looking under 500. There's literally hundreds of good choices out there under 500. These are just my top picks. So if you think I've forgotten something or you have a high recommendation, please definitely leave it in the comment section below. But if I had $500 to spend and I had to buy a new Swiss-made watch, these would be my top choices. So let's start our way from the bottom and work our way up to my #1 choice. So let's start off with the obvious one, which is Swatch. I have owned several Swatches, and I know a lot of you guys out there that love Swatches. Swatch is probably the most painless way to get into owning a Swiss watch. Swatch, if you may not know, is part of the Swatch Group, which of course it's named after. Swatch Group owns ETA amongst a bunch of other brands. In short, Swatch is just a cool fashion accessory. I mean, the reality with Swatch is they have so many cool, unique designs that you can literally find a Swatch for any kind of lifestyle and any kind of outfit, which is why a lot of people like them. They're kind of trendy, they're pretty cool, and of course you can get a base quartz watch for well under $100. Or you can look at the Tissot 51, which is their in-house automatic version, which is a completely machine-built automatic movement. It was the first one of its kind. It's a really cool piece. The rotor tends to have a little bit of art flair on top of it, so it definitely has an interesting kind of vibe to it. Swatches are really cool. Again, you can go from quartz to automatic in just about any style, bracelet, no bracelet, metal case, plastic case. You can really kind of customize and make one of these things your own. The only caveat to Swatches are they are non-serviceable. So, you know, you can replace batteries, and the automatics, you can wear them for many years, but at some point, if they do ever fail, just understand that they're not serviceable. But otherwise, they're a great entry into owning a Swiss watch. Moving up the list, another watch that I really like, and that's the Victorinox Enochs. The case design on these has a little bit of a Gerald Genta flair to it. These things in person have a lot of presence. I genuinely really like the way these things look, and they do seem to be pretty well made. And I actually have seen quite a few of these for a little bit over $100, like on sale in some discount stores. But the case is finished well, the straps of the bracelets are done well, and they tend to feature a Ronda movement. Ronda is one of the biggest producers of Swiss quartz movements. So you have a watch with a lot of style, with a Swiss-made movement in it, and this is a watch that I can honestly say I would definitely wear too. I think they're pretty cool pieces. And actually, just to be clear, any watch on this list that I'm listing to you is a watch that I would proudly wear on my own wrist. Otherwise, I wouldn't be putting it on my list. But yeah, I think these are a great style bargain. I know a lot of you guys out there are passionate about Victorinox. I've never owned one, but I've held several, and these in particular, every time I see one for sale, if I'm in a store and I happen to notice one, they definitely still catch my eye, and I do think that they're just a lot of value for what they are. Moving up the list is kind of a 2-4 here. My 2 favorite quartz diving watches that are Swiss made under $500. They have quite a broad range, but the 2 ones that I love a lot are going to be your Marathons and your Luminoxes. These are both watches that the US military has used. These are both watches that feature Swiss quartz movements in them. The Marathon, I believe, tends to use ETA, whereas the Luminox tend to use more Ronda movements. Regardless, you're getting some good quality Swiss-made movements. You're getting some very well-made watertight cases. The Marathon CSAR is one of the coolest watches out there. They do make an automatic version, but unfortunately that breaks this price range. But the quartz version can be had for under $500 in a metal case, or you can get a Marathon for a couple $100 with a plastic case. They have a very cool vintage looking dial and a lot of interesting history behind them. The Luminox, same thing, well-built watches. You can get different types of cases on these things. They have some nice silicone straps on them. You see a lot of Navy SEALs wearing these kind of watches. Super cool. These watches have great glow-in-the-dark features. I mean, their luminescence is wonderful. They're great dive tools. And again, you're getting Swiss-made precision instruments that for under $500, I think offer quite a bit of value. Moving up the list to some more mechanical movements, since that tends to be more my foray, I want to talk about Tissot. And I'm not going to just give you one Tissot, I'm going to give you 3 Tissots that I think offer a lot of value. Number one, since I just talked about dive watches, is the Tissot Sea-Star. Those watches are absolutely classic. They're about $500. You can definitely find sales that get them pretty close to the $500 price range. Well made, ETA movements, because they're part of Swatch group. They're just really nice feeling watches in the hand. I mean, they genuinely are. They're good to about 1,000 feet. So they have basically the same water rating, depth rating as a Rolex Submariner. So you're not really missing much there on the dive tool features. And as an entry-level dive Swiss watch, I mean, there's really nothing I could say that's negative about these guys. In fact, the newer ones feature an in-house movement that's part of the Swatch group that actually has an 80-hour power reserve, which is a very high power reserve. Most of your out-of-the-box Seikos and other watches are going to be 40 to 50 hours on the high end, and so 80 hours is a pretty respectable figure. A couple other Tissots, let's say you're not looking for a dive watch, you're looking for a chronograph. There's the Tissot Carson. This is a chronograph that Tissot offers. It's based on a Lamania, I think 5100 caliber. They have a different internal name for this caliber. It's like C01 or C10, I can't remember. In short though, it's a mechanical automatic chronograph. It has about a 45-hour power reserve, and it's a traditional 3-dial layout, and for under $500, a Swiss-made Lamania-based caliber chronograph for under $500, I mean, that's nuts. And for some of you vintage guys out there, if you really got into Mad Men like I did, there is some pretty cool Tissots out there too that have a vintage flair to them. My choice of those would be the Viso-Date or the Viso-Date, however you want to pronounce it. Great classic looking piece. I think that's something too that I'd be very happy to wear to a party or just every day to the office. It's a pretty nice looking watch. And last but not least, my number one pick is going to be the Hamilton Khaki. The Hamilton Khaki is an icon. I think just about everybody that I've ever known that got really deep into Swiss watch collecting has given one of these guys a serious look and or owned one of them. It's one of those watches that no matter how nice your collection gets, it's something I think you can always appreciate. It's got that traditional kind of field watch look to it. The current ones also have a newer in-house movement that's good for 80 hours of power reserve, which is nuts. These things have been out long enough that they have quite a different bit of movements in them depending on when they were made and what series they were part of. But again, as a classic field watch, these things are super cool, and I think they're something that if you bought now, you could respectably wear for years to come and not really get sick of. So there's my top list. So with all that said, here's a couple kind of wild card bonus watches, since narrowing this list down to kind of 5 overall was pretty tough for me. So the Mondaine Railroad, the automatic version, or the Quartz, I prefer the automatic. These things I think are super cool. They have like the Swiss railway clock kind of look to them. You see a lot of these being sold in gift shops at like modern art museums because they have such a cool, interesting look to them. I love these watches, really do. I don't think their build quality is quite as good as you'd find with a Tissot or a Hamilton, which is why I didn't rank them on my list. But I think if you're looking for an interesting looking piece that has a very bespoke looking dial and of course is Swiss made, I think the Mondaine Railroad is a really good choice. 2 other kind of wild cards. A lot of people throw out the name Glycine, or they talk about the combat sub. Traditionally, these are way more than $500, but I do know a couple people that have gotten really, really good deals on them and were able to crack the $500 barrier if they bought them right. Those things are really, really cool, and that's a heck of a lot of watch for the money. So if you're able to find a Glycine combat sub for a good price and near the $500 range, I definitely think that should be on your list too. I haven't seen a good sale on them for quite a bit, but I'm sure you guys out there can tell me where to find one right now. So those might be a good choice for you. And then my last kind of wild card, it's not a Swiss watch exact because it's not Swiss made, it's made in Germany, but it has a Swiss movement in it and it falls under the made in Europe criteria if that's more of your broad scope, is the Junghans Max Bill. I love Junghans. The Max Bill series in particular is a very cool minimalist style watch, and getting one with a quartz movement can definitely be had for about the $500 range. And so occasionally too, if you're willing to buy used, you can find automatic ones hovering a little bit above that. So that's kind of a cool little wild card I threw out there as well. There you go. That's a very short list, and as I've mentioned, there's literally hundreds of good choices out there, but if I had to go out there tomorrow with that kind of price range and had to pick my top favorites for under 500 bucks, that's what I would default to, and as I said, I'd be happy to wear any of these watches. Speaking of what I'm wearing, sorry, customary wristwatch check. Today I'm wearing my 16710 Rolex GMT Master 2. Something that I know my friend Giancarlo, who has the 16700 Pepsi, appreciates. We're kind of like the GMT brothers. It's interesting. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think below. I'm sure I've left off one of your favorite watches, and please do share what you guys think of some good choices in the comment section below. If you thought this video was helpful, if you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. Please, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you guys can see my future content. As always, guys, take care, and I'll talk to you guys real soon. More video content's coming. I have lots of videos. I just need to get around to editing. So take care, guys. See you real soon.